Evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media Huntington. Tonight is December 12th. It's a Tuesday. It's a little past 10. We came on a little bit later. Sometimes we have technical difficulties. Sometimes we don't. But I'm Jenny Lee, and tonight I am joined here with Dana.
Hi, guys.
And Lisa.
Hi, everybody.
And tonight we're going to be discussing the Suffolk County IDA, which is the Industrial
Development
Agency. Thank you. Woohoo! Good save. But us ladies have been following Robert Trotta. He's been doing these Trotta Talks. Have any of you guys had a chance to check them?
I saw a few that, well, for those of you who don't know, I'm just getting over being very ill. So I'm just catching up on a lot of things. I was able to catch up on some of it, but I'm going to fall back because I think I get it, but I don't think I get it. You understand? So I don't really know exactly where to start and how everything falls into place. So
that's all right. Just ask questions.
Okay, so do you think maybe the best place that we could start tonight is to help people find where to get Robert Trotta's talks, because he's talking about what's going on with Suffolk County legislation. And then from there, we'll go ahead and pick up on his last episode so we could follow through with what was going on with one of the members of the Suffolk County IDA who's been investigated by the FBI. And this story actually goes back a few years. So we just wanted to cover this subject tonight to bring everybody else up to speed as to the going-ons with the Suffolk County IDA, who's giving away your tax money to every town in Huntington. All right, so let's start with Trotta Talks. Robert Trotta is one of 18 legislators for Suffolk County, and he has been doing what he is calling Trotta Talks on Facebook. And I'm going to go ahead and pop you guys over to his Facebook page, and he's been keeping them public. So if anybody wants to go and see them without being his friends, you can check on him and go watch under his video tab. So we're going to go ahead and watch a couple of minutes of the very last and most recent Trotta Talks. And if anybody wants to take any notes, and we will have a discussion thereafter. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. All right, so we're going to pop on over to
Trotta Talks.
The Trotta Talks. Dun, dun, dun. Hold on. I'm having a little bit of... Hold on. I got to cancel it. Of course. It's just one of those nights.
You just had it on. But of course. Tree looks great, by the way.
Yeah, see, no, it's sharing that instead. Yeah.
I look like a homeless person.
Do you? No, you don't.
I saw that picture. I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can. So judgmental.
Oh, because you saw the other screen.
I saw it up there.
I don't know why it's not going to want to share my screen today. It wants to only share. Here we go. Okay, good. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Trotta Talks, and hopefully you could see the whole thing here. Okay, and here we go.
A lot to talk about. When I started today, I had an idea of what I was going to talk about. A variety of different things. And then something happened at about 6:26 this evening that actually fell right into place with what I was going to talk about. Last night, we voted for $1.7 million in additional money to Wyandanch Rising, which is a apartment complex and revitalization project in Wyandanch by the Wyandanch train station. Now, we've given the developer tens of millions of dollars. We gave them the property. We gave them subsidies to build. We gave them all kinds, the equivalent of approximately $22 million in tax abatements. And he came in last night asking for 1.7 million more, which was, I think, probably scheduled from years ago. And I started questioning him on it. And what I did was I pulled up, I'm not blaming the developer for this. This is the way business is run. And I want to show the people how business is run so you can make decisions when you vote. It's the Albanese Corporation. It could be any corporation. It could be anything in the world. I don't want to pick on these people. But what I started to do was to look at how this happened. And how this happened was back from the IDA years ago under the Blown administration. He was the supervisor of the town of Babylon. The IDA is the Industrial Development Corporation Association. And what that means is they give tax breaks to different organizations to stay in the town, to revitalize the town, so they can build there. It makes it a little bit more affordable. But in looking into this over the past 24 hours, since I voted no to give $1.7 million for landscaping, lighting, some electrical work to a developer who's already developed 177 units. And their contribution to the 177 units was $8 million. That comes to $45,000 a unit. So what's happening there? They have now a tax abatement they were given of 73.5%. Don't you wish you got a 73.5% abatement on your taxes?
Heck yeah.
For 40 years. That was on building 1. On building 2, they got a 69% tax abatement for 30 years. And who gave them this? Well, at the time, it was Supervisor Malone, and this guy right here. His name is Robert Strickoff. I was going to talk about Robert Strickoff, and lo and behold, on Newsday tonight, it popped up that Robert Strickoff is being investigated. But let's go backwards. He was head of the IDA, and guess what he also was the head of? He was the head of the Democratic Party in the town of Babylon. So during the day, he gave out tax abatements to builders, and at night he collected, are you ready for this? Campaign contributions for the Suffolk Democratic Committee, the Babylon Democratic Committee, the Babylon Democratic Committee, the Town of Babylon Democratic Committee, Balone for Suffolk, campaign for that Democratic legislature. So lo and behold, he comes in front of the legislature. Guess what? They give him $1.7 million. Now, is this illegal? Probably not. But is it immoral? And it is the reason why your taxes are going through the roof. It's 100% why your taxes are going through the roof. And let me tell you the community that suffers the most because of this. It's Wyandanch itself. And
oh, shoot. So, since I totally messed that up by trying to hit that notification to not be on there, did you guys catch any of that? All of that? Like, do we have a grasp of what the IDA does?
Yes.
Yeah, it gives tax breaks, obviously.
But not just like for
tax breaks, donations, and they have the good life basically. This sounds like to me. I mean, I wish I could get that.
Right, but and at night he's the head of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Getting all those contributions, all that money. Where does all that money go?
They're developers. They're already receiving also federal incentives to build high density housing.
But what is the purpose of build? Okay, so I've gone to the place in Wyandanch. It's decent. It's not some place that I would want to go live. The area in itself, the actual facility looks nice, but the surrounding area is extremely questionable. So why? I mean, it looks pretty on the out, but why would I want to live there? It's nothing. There's nothing that I've gone. The only thing that I like in that area is they have a nice little spray park. That's about it. I don't see anything else. So what is the incentive? If they're going to revitalize it, they have a lot more work to do.
There isn't really any jobs that are over there that really attract any people that would want to live there. So it's just turning into more of high density housing feel.
And did you hear where he mentions about the students and the money that it's going to cost per student when you break it down? That will affect Wyandanch, $25,000 a student.
Oh yeah, and that's well. So if anybody wants to, we wanted to show the whole thing, but we wanted to cover a little bit more deeper into the Suffolk County IDA. And if we covered just Trotta, so kind of glad that it did shut off. because if we, either way, we just didn't. So if anybody wants to see the Robert Trotta talks, he's doing them weekly, I believe. So just go to his page anytime you want. But what he was talking about, even more importantly, was the article that we want to go ahead and show you, that was in Newsday on December 6th. And this is the one that he was referencing that came out right before he went on the air.
Right.
I believe, Lisa, you have that one in your hand, don't you?
Yeah.
Can you give us the gist of it, since I just can't seem to get my screen share to want to work tonight? It's crazy.
I can read it quickly. It's not that long.
Yeah, it's not that crazy.
Federal investigators have begun examining whether Robert Strykoff, former head of both the Babylon Democratic Party and the Town Industrial Development Agency, engaged in financial improprieties when he was in those positions. Multiple sources confirmed the inquiry, headed by the Political Corruption Unit of the United States Attorney's Office in Brooklyn and FBI agents who specialize in the subject. They stressed the examination of Strykoff's actions began only recently and that no one has been charged with wrongdoing. Strykoff, blah, 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 he was head of those two things from 2002 to 2014. The sources responding to questions confirmed the subject's investigators are examining, including information, oh, that doesn't sound right, originally generated by Democratic Party Chief Richard Schaefer and forwarded to the Suffolk District Attorney, and the District Attorney probe of whether Strykoff had sought to have an IDA official erase records from his IDA computers. The IDA works with businesses to promote sustainable development and job growth. Robert Strykoff welcomes any impartial inquiry into his performance and record keeping at the Babylon IDA.
All right, so this is the feds. This is a federal charge.
Yeah. Strykoff, that's just nice to know. A childhood friend and close ally of Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone, was Chief Executive Officer of the Babylon IDA from 2002 to 2014, when he resigned after his appointment as Executive Director of the Suffolk County IDA. Shortly after that referral, Newsday reported that SCIDA's office has widened its probe to the Babylon IDA, and Strykoff asked the agency Chief Fiscal Officer Catherine Harris, to erase records from his IDA computer. She declined to do that after seeking advice from IDA counsel William Wexler. SCIDA has been charged by federal prosecutors with obstructing an investigation of former Suffolk County Chief of Police James Burke, beating of a burglary suspect. SCIDA pleaded not guilty to the charges. We already know that stuff. But Nancy Delaney, the name sounds familiar, who worked as an administrative assistant to the IDA and previously as an assistant to Bellone, says she was interviewed by FBI agents about a week ago. She said the agents asked her about her position and duties, as well as Strykoff's attendance. And the last little bit of the last sentence is Babylon IDA Chairman Babylon IDA Chairman Patrick Halpin said he has not been involved. He has not been interviewed. Oh my God, so sorry, by the FBI, but declined to comment on whether he has been contacted by federal authorities. Mouthful that is. Yeah.
What's interesting is these are federal charges.
Yeah.
This has been used against him before.
In 2014.
I'm going to call him Bobby because right now that's just easier than trying to say striker, Strykoff, SCIDA, all this stuff. Okay, so let's just call him Bobby for now for the sake of the argument.
Okay.
Bobby was head of the Suffolk County IDA, and he got caught destroying computers pretty much. And let me show you back in 2014 that, let me see if this is the one. Oh no, that gets even better with that. So I can't read all of this, but September 18th, 2014, and this is Newsday. All of these stories are easily Googleable if you just type in Strikeoff and Schaefer and SPOTA. You can get all this. But the Suffolk County District Attorney's probe into possible, the Suffolk County District Attorney's probe. And I stress that because what we're looking at now is federal charges. The Suffolk County District Attorney's probe at the time was led by SPOTA's office.
Right.
Okay, so that's what's really important here to understand when you start laying out this soap opera for everyone. Improper payments to the former Babylon Democratic leader Robert Streicher has widened to the town industrial development agency that Bobby headed after he allegedly asked an aide to so it's basically the same thing that Lisa just said, including the name IDA counsel, William Wexler, the legal guy over there, to have them scrubbed. So this was back in September 18th, 2014.
Wow.
This is not new news.
It sounds like what I just read.
It's the same exact thing, but the difference is this is Suffolk County. So what happened with this? Why are the feds charging him now? Well, here, let's lay it out for you. Because during this period of time, right after started this huge fallout with Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone and Town of Babylon Supervisor, Suffolk County Democratic Chair Richie Schaefer. This is really a trio of these three breaking up is what you're witnessing going on here. A behind-the-scenes battle between Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone and his one-time mentor, Suffolk County Democratic Chairman Rich Schaefer. And not for nothing, we've covered this over the last few episodes that we've done on the election, what I want to call rigging at this point, and how they use cross endorsements. And we all know what Rich Schaefer was doing. We've covered it extensively. It's episode number 12. Please feel free to go through our episodes. We've covered what's going on here with the party and the party leader. There's only the party of one in Suffolk. But that back then in 2016 is dividing county Democrats as Bellone presses for the resignation of the district attorney, Thomas Spott. Now, we all know, because we've been doing this for a while now, he was just indicted.
Right.
And that's why we're now seeing federal charges. But wait, it gets better. So the seeds of the division were planted at a meeting in 2013 when Bellone presented a sweeping plan to change Suffolk County government to Schaefer and two other top Democrats, Babylon Democratic Chairman Robert Streicher and Deputy County Executive John Schneider, Schaefer said. So this is an internal battle. Bellone included a list of 17 political figures and offer holders for whom he wanted to remove from their positions to change the culture of the county, according to Schaefer. So Schaefer and Bellone are having this internal struggle. And Strikoff becomes the pawn in all this. So what do they do? Because you know what we do when the district attorney gets a case and they need to prosecute it? We send it over to the State Board of Elections, because the State Board of Elections always handles convicting people for crimes, right?
Yes, of course. It makes total sense.
Isn't that exactly how that always happens?
In the land of misfits. Yeah.
Okay. So again, now we're here. We're April, which is right before the shit hit the fan with Bellone and Schaefer. And so now I'm going to come back to you ladies real quick so that we could talk about what we have so I don't get too far ahead of myself. But that's the background of where we are right now with federal charges. And the only reason we're experiencing federal charges is because the county used this as leverage against Strikoff to have him perform for the party. He was actually the tool that Schaefer was using to keep Bellone in order. Does that make sense?
Say that again.
Yeah.
Bobby Strikoff became the theoretical carrot that was being waved in front of Bellone by SPOTA and Schaefer. Schaefer took it to SPOTA and said, you're going to do this. You're going to twist this guy, and you're going to make him do what I want to make Bellone do, because Bellone wanted to change the culture of the Democratic Party and the county. So it became power struggle between Ballone and Schaefer. Schaefer, the party leader, and Ballone, who's now the county executive, and he's getting a little too big for his britches, according to Schaefer. So Schaefer goes after one of his favorite people, which is Strickoff, and start using him to get Ballone to fall into line. Does that make sense now?
Okay.
Okay. So now, guess who just gets indicted by the feds? Our district attorney, who never convicted this guy. So now they're going after Bobby. Who knows where all the bodies are buried in the Democratic Party? Every single one. If anybody knows and anybody's a weak link and anybody now has a bone to pick with people who hurt him, it's him.
This is scary crap.
So how does that affect us in Huntington?
Wait, now hasn't Schaefer and Walsh also been indicted?
Oh my God, think about it. Our sheriff is in jail. Our chief of police, our sheriff, Ed Walsh, is on FBI.gov. Okay. And he's also the head of the Conservative Party. So don't think I'm just against Democrats here.
Right.
We discriminate equally here against all of them.
The head of public corruption, McPartland. He's also
our district attorney. Yeah. Now they're going after the guy who funds all the developers, who's lining everybody's political coffers.
Christopher McPartland.
Yes, Christopher McPartland. Does she always do this about 8 minutes into our show?
Yes, always.
She got my number, this one.
Just want you to get up. Now, all those articles that you just read, including this one, I swear to God, they all sound like the same exact article, except the dates are different.
The dates and levels of government. Because what you're holding is federal. The ones I had, and I keep stressing that because it's important to know, the reason you have layers of government is no different than you have a complaint at your school with your teacher. You don't take it to the superintendent. You start at the chain of command, and you hope that your problem gets taken care of before you get to this point. If you have to get to this point to get your problem taken care of, then all these other people are not doing their jobs.
Right.
So
that's for the Board of Elections. No one's doing their job.
Well, they're prosecuting people for destroying evidence, destroying computers. That's their new job at the State Board of Elections. What is that? It's
good to know.
All right, so I have this one other article that I want to, this one you guys are going to love. This one is actually going to this one's going to tie home so much stuff, it's going to hurt. So when we talk about Suffolk County, and one of the questions I always get asked is, in fact, I was contacted by a reporter from, because I made a comment. I make lots of comments all day long. I'm voice to text. I'm a happy camper. And she said, you seem to know a lot about the Suffolk County IDA and what's going on here. And she said, what can you tell me about it? I said, maybe you need to ask Mark Cuthbertson. In fact, I'll show you the whole conversation. And she goes, well, I don't think he'll make a comment. I'm like, you're right, he won't, but maybe you should just start Googling because all of this is already very public knowledge. We're only reiterating what's already out there in the public, taking the pieces and putting them together for you. So do you want to see this piece on how it comes back to Huntington?
I'd love to.
Me too. Let's hope the screen share works this time.
And I also want you to explain that one article. I know that also it was from 2014 about intercepted emails. Does that tie into this also?
The one I'm bringing in right now from 2014. Oh. This is the one that really, well, but unfortunately, I'm just having all these little minor issues with my screen grab tonight. It's just not my night. Here it is. I see it. Yay! Okay. So this was such a well-rounded article from the Huntingtonian that was doing really fabulous.
And look at the date. Look at the date. 2014.
November 18, 2014. So this actually links back to an article that Newsday did that involved Gary Melius and everything else. But I'm going to go ahead and read the article for you, and then I'll come back to you. Whew. A few weeks ago, an email that was written by Councilman Mark Cuthbertson was somehow intercepted and forwarded to many people and news organizations, including this one. It is unclear how the email was leaked, but it has been substantiated. The email, which was addressed and to undisclosed recipients, appears to be Mark Cuthbertson attempting to reach out to individuals asking for help in trying to do damage control over recent allegations of impropriety that have been made against him. The email included 2 attachments, which were 2 versions of how he might publicly deal with the recent allegations against him. He sent the attachments to a group of individuals asking for advice and feedback on how he should behave publicly. The Huntingtonian has recently learned that 2 of the recipients were former Huntington Councilman Stu Besson and former Town of Babylon Democratic Chair Robert Strykoff. It is rumored that Besson is being considered for the Northport Village attorney seat, which I believe he's gotten since then, that will become available now that Jim Matthews has been elected to a judgeship. Robert Strykoff is currently under investigation by the Suffolk County DA's office for allegedly overpaying himself as much as $125,000 while serving as the chairman of the Town of Babylon Democratic Committee. An investigation has since expanded into the Town of Babylon's IDA office, and he allegedly requested that a subordinate scrub clean his computer. Strykoff was also the Town of Babylon Industrial Development Agency head. The body of the email written by Cuthbertson states, "I've been advised that Newsday may be writing another story about court appointments involving people in Huntington, and I want to get out in front of the story. I've reviewed my files for court appointments that might have involved people who had contacts under the town, and the only matters that might have merited disclosure as the more prudent course under a recent decision I received from the Ethics Board are the appointments described in the attached summary. I would greatly appreciate if you could review this statement and let me know your thoughts on its content. I would also appreciate your thoughts on the following. Should I wait and see if a story is coming, or just go ahead and make this disclosure? Obviously, there is risk associated with both approaches. If I disclose and a story was not going to be written, I could invite a story. If I don't disclose and a story gets written, this will just be viewed as a reaction to it. Should I go forward with the code amendment I mentioned in the final paragraph, or is that too cute by half?" So when you do see people now on the blogs saying too cute by half when they describe him, now you know why they said that.
Wow.
In both versions of the damage control documents, Cuthbertson reveals that he has had business dealings with Robert Fonte. In the documents, he states that Robert Fonte has been retained by the town for 17 years as a property management consultant. He does not mention that Robert Fonte is also the chairman of the Huntington Housing Authority. Robert Fonte also plays a significant role in the Long Islander newspaper. The 2 versions are similar, and they will be published later this week. In both, he explains how he has been enlightened that it is best to disclose relationships, even in circumstances that it is not technically required. What is interesting to note is, as of today, he has not publicly disclosed these relationships. He also states in his damage control documents, I'm going to kill this dog, I really am, that he will be presenting his colleagues with a draft code amendment to the ethics code. He asked the undisclosed email recipients if his idea to propose ethics code reform legislation would be too cute by half, meaning it would appear sneaky or underhanded. Cuthbertson's intercepted email was written on October 25th, 2014. So far, Cuthbertson has not publicly disclosed any relationships where he voted on something that would be considered a violation of the ethics code. The Long Islanders newspaper reaction. You know, and what's really sad about this is you really have to distinguish what we were talking about before. The chain of command. So after Councilman Gene Cook asked for a federal investigation into the town board, the Long Islander newspaper issued an editorial called "Long Islander News Calls for State Investigation," a state investigation. They didn't want a federal investigation, and now the feds are here. So at first look, people who are aware of the newspaper's close ties to the town board were surprised that the paper would support an investigation into the town, especially since Robert Fonte, who has close ties to the newspaper, has been named in some of the allegations. In actuality, the Long Island newspaper is not supporting a federal investigation, which was requested by Councilman Cook. They, in fact, are supporting an investigation by New York State Attorney General and are adamantly against a federal investigation. It came out swinging against Councilman Cook. The newspaper issued an editorial and spoke on public record at the last town board meeting. At the November 6, 2014, which you can go view on the town website, town board meeting, Peter Sloggart, pictured here, who stated he was speaking on behalf of the Long Island newspaper, opposed Cook's request for a federal investigation. So much for non-biased reporting. In both their editorial and their statement on public record at Town Hall, they failed to disclose the newspaper's ties to Cuthbertson and Patron through Robert Fonte, whose role at the Long Islander is not for public consumption. In both their public record statement and editorial, they do not mention the email where Cuthbertson reveals his ties to Fonte. Besides Fonte's role as a consultant to the town, ties to the Long Islander newspaper, ties to Cuthbertson's receiverships, he is also the chairman of the Huntington Housing Authority. The Long Islander editorial states, this is not criticism of our Huntington Town Board ethics and financial disclosure. We firmly believe that the board, headed by Dean Howard Glickenstein, is well qualified to render a proper opinion. The editorial then goes on for 3 paragraphs to praise the chairman of the ethics board. They never disclose that Mr. Glickenstein has made campaign contributions to Patron and Cuthbertson and other members of the town board. So basically, the ethics board is appointed by the town board and is also making political contributions to the people who appoint them. So there's no non-bias there. So do you get the gist of all this? And of course, you can go back and read it. It's called The Intercepted Email, Cuthbertson Fonte, and the Long Island newspaper. This just goes more into what happened with Cuthbertson. And I think what we really need to do on our end of things is, I think I'm going to go ahead and foil the original federal request and find out if the town board followed up on that, or if they requested a state one, or if they requested nothing at all, because at that town, so Cook called for a federal investigation. Peter Sloggart from the Long Islander got up and spoke saying, no, we need a state investigation, which is unheard of because you're the editor of a newspaper. I'm sorry. And if you would have come up and said, I'm speaking for myself and not my paper, maybe you would have had a little bit more credibility. But you came up and said, I'm speaking on behalf of the newspaper. You're supposed to not be biased and give an opinion in regards to that. So I would like to find out, did they ever actually call for, as a board, to a federal investigation to Mark Cuthbertson? And if they didn't, I think we need to ask our new board to do so.
That's what I was going to ask. What if they did? Oh, is that me?
I think it's all you. I don't know why it's stuck on you. It's fine.
I don't think an investigation was ever done, especially considering that during that time you had Cuthbertson, Patron, Berlin. Was Edwards on then?
No, she wasn't on yet.
Who was in Edwards' place?
It was Glenda was on, and then Glenda got.
You could forget it. They're not going to call in Mark.
But you know what? They said they were going to, and it would be very interesting to point out that they didn't.
Right.
I would bet that they did not, because.
So what can we do? We already know they didn't. Let's just assume.
We shouldn't assume. We should always come with the facts, and I think that that's something I'm willing to foil, and we could do a follow-up on this. And I'm even willing to go down to a town board meeting with our new board and ask for them to reopen the investigation, since they never did before, and clear it. You know, not for nothing, too many people speculated about it. So if you're innocent, give us a chance to vet it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't know. I feel a little bit, not to say that we, for me, it's a tug of war, because I feel as though with the new administration coming in, we have a lot of things to cover. Not to say that this isn't important, but it's already in the Fed's hands. Let them do their investigation. We have other things to focus on, because my thought process is, he's been on there since how long? Is it really going to change now? I don't think so. And
well, the Feds are investigating. I mean, they started with Spoda, right? And then they went over to, now they've got Strickoff, and he's going to sing like a canary. I'm going to tell you, the rumor, and underscore rumor, is that Mark is already already cooperating with the feds. So I don't even know what that means and what level. I know there's a lot of my speculation, and I'm going to state it's a speculation. I think the feds want Schaefer.
Well, I mean, if you look at all the things that we just went over, even though it was condensed, I would assume they would want him. He has his hands in a lot of things that just doesn't seem right, and especially with the last article in regards to him and Balone, because in that particular article, it goes back to when they were kids growing up, and I think Schaefer's 6 years older than Balone, and they had this kind of bromance. But then it also brings up other things, because it says where Balone he wants to eliminate 17 people from office. And he brings up some prominent names that are currently in office now that Balone was, high-fiving it for, including the legislator Dwayne Gregory, which that really threw me for a loop that he wanted him out, because I can't connect the two. Why would he go after him of all people? But that's another story. So, I mean, it's very interesting, to say the least. So I'm not surprised if they were going after Schaefer. And then I'm not surprised if we don't, if we don't start, when you corner one of them, you tend to find everybody starts singing to clear themselves up. As you see now with all the sex allegations, people are no longer having the chance to come out. People are just stepping down. Then you're not going to, I'm just going to step down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to let you investigate. I'm just going to go. I think, and that's what you're going to have in a sense. But if you're looking at these numbers that Bobby has, that Schaefer has, that Balone has, I'm pretty sure it's going to come down the line where we're going to have more than one person being investigated. And from what I understand, Cupperson is not, his hands aren't clean.
It just seems like we look at how many people are in jail indicted, and, we went through Ed Walsh. We've had McFarland went down with our district attorney, and now they sidelined to the guy in charge of all the money that was never convicted by the other guy before, and he's a weak link. Those weak links, they always
crack, and they always find a way to make them crack. So
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we start. That's what I'm saying. When we're talking about Cupperson and doing with the new administration, I personally believe the new administration is going to have its hands full, and they have other things to attend to, because we already have an investigation going on simultaneously. So let's say nothing ever comes up of that, then perhaps we could revisit it. But I strongly doubt if that would be their focus, because they have so many other things that they have to take care of. Like they have a lot to work on. And for some reason, I didn't get the impression that Cupperson was even in. So I don't know if they will.
I don't get the impression he's a main, but if you don't think that they're going to not start uncovering the receivership situation that was going on with Gary Melius, and if you don't think that Gary Melius isn't already cooperating with the feds, since Suffolk County Police, when headed by Burke, wasn't doing anything to help find out who shot him, and that's all interconnected. There are so many people that have so many bones to pick with each other in this whole party.
Yeah,
I know.
There are a bunch of backstabbing people. Like, they're out for them. They are sinking.
That's just crazy. And I think that it's been going on for so long.
Yeah.
Now it's starting to slowly unravel.
Oh. And there's a lot of unraveling to do, considering it's been going on for so long.
I don't know. Do you think it actually can ever change? Because all this corruption is so cross-endorsed.
Well, I mean, so look at what happened with that guy, Ralph Calamusi, this week.
Yeah.
So we can't get you on A, B, or C. I mean, that in itself, the whole story with the Thatch cottage, he was found in his car, and everybody said he was committing suicide because there was gas tanks in his car, and they were saying he was going to set himself on fire, but he passed out drunk. And then when he woke up in the hospital the next day, he was quoted in the paper. He said, "I was never going to kill myself. Somebody wanted to have me killed and send me a message." Then he disappeared after that. And there's been this developer fighting over his property because he doesn't just own the thatched cottage over by Mill Pond. He also owns jellyfish. So there's this whole big area, parking lot. There's lots of land right there on Mill Pond, the lake right over there, in Centerport. And that Centerport, that's a really prime piece of real estate. So all those things that are connected, you look at what happened with him, right? They weren't able to do that. What did they get him on this week, Lisa? Illegal aliens for cheap labor.
Yeah.
So if I can't get you on something, I'm going to get you for something else. No, seriously. That was the thing.
I believe that.
We were like, wait, why is he even in the news again? But he's probably safer where in jail than out on the streets.
But it's so sad to think that you would do all of that just for some property. I know I sound naive saying that, but it's like, really, you're willing to take someone's life for property? Is it? Are we cavemen? Can we not settle this out in court and not buy you out? Can we not come to some agreement? Can we not split the properties? Can we not, we have to kill people, or we have to resort to, all this other craziness? The thing that gets me is this. When you start talking about $1.7 million.
Here's my notes. 22
and it's
million.
Like, we're struggling just to make ends meet. I'm like, are you serious? Are you still getting more money? Like, how much? Like, really? Like, how much money do you need to satisfy you? Because when this is just what was reported.
But these are tax abatements. These aren't even just like, here, let me give you $10. This is, let me give you $10 out of the taxpayers' money, because we make that difference up, and we make it up for not a little while, 30, 40-year tax abatements. 30, 40 years. Where are you going to be in 40 years?
And then this 3.5% tax abatement. I want one of those.
This is what I didn't understand about the whole project. They get the tax abatement. Okay. So the developer, what happens if they're not able to generate any revenue from that area? What happens? It just sits there?
Well,
like if they can't fill up the place, or the area never gets revitalized. So in all honesty, like the man, Trotta said, Wine Dance is the one that ends up losing, because it's just going to be property on there. Nobody's paying taxes on it because they have the abatement. And if they can't get enough people in there, it's going to eventually just be abandoned. So then what happens?
Then they start filling it with homeless. That's what we've been seeing in Manhattan. That's what we've been seeing out in the Hamptons. They've been taking hotels, which is technically lower density versions of high density housing, right? So this is a building property. I can't move anymore. So now it becomes taxpayer funded again to house homeless, or to house, those kinds of social programs that they want to put in there. So now you're paying for this piece of property, not just for 40 years, because Steve Malone won't be around 40 years from now. So he doesn't care what deal Bobby Strickoff got, as long as Bobby Strickoff got more money in his campaign donation that night to make sure he got reelected and then in 40 years he's dead. He don't care. He don't care. Or living somewhere else.
That's what gets my goat, because most of us, we're just regular people working, or you're just trying to live your life decently. So you hear these people you want all this, you want more money on top of the money you're already receiving. It's like, that's beyond greed to me.
Yeah.
How much money do you need to become satisfied? I mean, because in my opinion, I would think maybe 500,000, you shut up and you go mind your business. These people are talking about millions. I mean, like, what?
We gave them 22 million and they came back for another 1.7. You're over budget. You're over budget. Go home, Camel.
You're way over.
A lot.
1.7. That's for landscaping, lighting, and electrical work. Trotta said.
I'll go mow the lawn. How much can we cut if I do that? I mean, come on, we could all take turns. It's not that much grass over there.
I don't understand how this can't be legal. How can this be legal?
It's not a maintenance contract. I've already seen the specs on it. I won't say why, but I've seen them. I've seen the whole $1.7 million project. But as far as the landscaping goes, it's a very small piece of it. It's not mowing. That's a maintenance issue that would happen every week. It's where they decide what plants go there. After that, they will hire a company to come and maintain it every week. So that's a separate thing. The mowing thing. This is just to decorate it.
I'll decorate it. Let's help. How much can we cut there?
Sod and seed and put in some junipers or some whatever kind of foliage that's going to come back every year and make it easier for their maintenance contract.
Jenny, let me ask you, do you know, Trotta talks about it in the video, I don't know if we heard it, about the new head of the Democratic Party, Peter C. I can't pronounce the last name. His name is Peter. It starts with a C. He's the new head of the Democratic Party, and he's also, at night, as Trotta puts it, head of the planning department.
Wait, I didn't catch that part. Wait, where's Schaefer going?
Probably jail.
Why is he stepping down? When did he step down? I missed that.
Yeah, Trotta mentions it in the video at some point, but I
missed that part. You know, I got so distracted by the whole sewer issue at the end because my husband's a sewer drain guy. I guess I should go back and play the other half of it because we have a lot more time than I thought we were going to. Usually we run over, and we could get the second half of it in real quick if you want, since I screwed it up. But I missed that.
I didn't hear that. Schaefer hasn't announced publicly that he's stepping down.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
It's going to take a whole lot for him to step down. I'm going to be honest with you, because he has it made in the shade, and he's been able to up. So
it's going to be like pry that dead Democratic symbol out of my hands type thing. You never put this man is the puppeteer behind every political party on Long Island. If he was going down, we'd all know it.
Yeah, that would have been made public. So I mean, it might be speculation. It might be in his best interest, but I don't foresee him going down without a fight, and I mean a big fight, and taking some people with him. So I don't know about that.
I have to agree, and I think that that's what Bobby's doing right now. I think that if you look at what I showed you earlier and how this played out with Balone and how, you know, there was that struggle and they used Bobby as a pawn piece, I think they got him. He's rolling. I hope he is.
What would he? I'm sure once he realized they used him as a pawn, what else can he do? What else could he do to say, aha, I'm going to stick you both?
Right.
Play with me. I'm going to get you both. Then I'm going to make sure I keep my behind out of jail because I'm going to make a deal.
Yep. I would.
I would too.
I wish they'd all just make some deals and get it over with. Drain the swamp. It's just ridiculous.
No, I don't think that. The reason why I think Bobby would be able to do it because even though he's a major player, he's not a Balone and he's not a Schaefer.
He's also weak. He got caught twice for the same thing.
So you're not gonna the other two. I just don't think they're gonna just bend over and be like, "All right, I'm out of here." No, I don't think that's gonna happen at all.
They definitely got the right guy. They knew what they were doing when they were focusing on the weak link. He's it.
Yeah, that's strategic planning. You know.
Oh
so,
yeah.
We can't get the big fish. We'll get the small fish to roll on a bigger fish, and we'll eventually get who we want.
They should start practicing bending over when they drop the soap.
I can't.
I was waiting for.
Lisa's out of control as always.
Wow.
We're all thinking it. Come on, we're all thinking it.
Like that
guy. Not with Lisa at this point in time.
Whoops! We'll be right back.
Oh my goodness.
It's very.
Right. So we have about 15 minutes left.
Lisa, you know what I wanted to ask Lisa about? Because it was concerning to me. She was talking about the school system in Wyandanch increasing The school system there is already fragile, and I'm being polite by saying that. So what were you saying about that?
If we continue listening to Trotta's video, he discusses how badly Wyandanch is going to be affected by all of this. And when he broke down the numbers, he said it costs us taxpayers upwards of $25,000 per student.
Yeah.
So he broke it down in his video, but I just took a note because that was the end result.
It costs us $25,000 per year per student in the Wyandanch School District. It's actually a little bit higher in the Huntington School District, and that's based off numbers that are about 10 years old now. Every 10 years, we do a census report, which is coming up in 2020, and those numbers always change. But what he was saying was that the bulk of your taxes, 61% of it goes to schools. So when they are giving you a 40 and a 30-year tax abatement for the size and scope of a development such as that. And just, you're talking about 4 census reports. So Lord knows how your population is going to change in 40 years. And yet this project will still be entitled to. So 40 years from now, the cost of living, who knows what's going to be happening, right? But 61% of that, every tax abatement is stolen from our schools. And they're already, like Dana was pointing out, they're already fragile to begin with. We stopped cutting fat a long time ago. We cut meat now.
And we really, and then you have to think about it, let's face it, eventually it might be an overflow, and then where do those kids go? You have to educate them. That's their given right. So, but let's face it, a school can only hold but so much. So where does that overflow go? Does it go into the next
Look
town?
what happened to Hempstead. They almost went bankrupt when we accepted all the unaccompanied minors a few years ago. And now we're seeing some of those unaccompanied minors go to jail for murder. It's the whole system.
What about the Heartland Project? What about Brentwood School District when the Heartland Project starts going? All those, I think at that civic meeting, I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe someone said 1,700 students were coming in. Is that right?
Is that from where that new building they're making?
They said the brunt of it was going to hit Brentwood from the Heartland Project.
That's from the new thing where the psychiatric center's at?
Yes.
Yes. Let me tell you something. If you look at, people always look at the blueprint. I want you to sit down and take the time and look at the aerial view of that area. It's huge.
Mm-hmm. So it covers 4 towns.
It's going to
cover 4 towns.
Everything in there. Now, where are these kids going to go? And Brentwood is another school district that's already fragile as is.
They said they were going to get the brunt of it.
So where do these kids go now?
I don't know.
Then for people like, for regular people who pay taxes and everything else, I always feel resentment that I still have to pay a school tax, because once my children reach the 8th grade, I send them to private school because the schools are crowded. The teachers, I mean, you may have a great teacher, but what can she do if she has 30 kids in a class, 32 kids in a class? What can you do?
Soon.
Yeah, you can't possibly, there's no help. How are you going to teach 32 different personalities in 45 minutes and everybody doesn't learn at the same pace? But
you don't teach your riot control at that point. Your crowd control.
Yeah, but at that point, is it fair to me to still have to pay a school tax when I'm now paying St. Anthony's tax, which is now what, I think $13,000 a year? I don't think that. And I have 3 more to go. 3 more. So it's like, and I can't help but to think, we add all these places, eventually it's not going to be just those fragile school systems that are getting the kids. It's going to be all of us, because what are they going to do? They're going to have to start busing these kids someplace.
Or consolidating school districts.
Did St. Anthony's really go up to 13,000? When my son went, it was 9,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah, when my son went there for the first year, it was about 10. It was almost 11,000 then. So now it's like 13,000. Yeah, and understand this: when I give you the tuition amount, that does not include uniform.
Oh, nothing extra. I know that.
Sports.
Son went there.
People don't understand that. People think, oh, no, and that doesn't include lunch, and their lunch is as much as an adult.
$5, $5 a lunch for a good lunch.
Right now, you're talking about at least 11, 12, because a wrap there is $6.
Yeah.
Just a wrap.
Yeah.
So you're talking about maybe like $10, $12 a day.
Oh my God.
So that's separate from the tuition. That's always separate. So
and if they play sports, you got to buy everything. You got to pay for your sports insurance.
Oh, you got to go away to the games. You got to go away. There's games.
Yeah, but you got to buy a Pride Pack. The Pride Pack is like $375. You have to do a lot of different things. It's a lot. Yep. And it is like, okay, well, I'm going to pay this, but why am I still paying for a school tax when, I'm not utilizing it?
Crazy.
You know what I mean? And it's not fair. And then like, I'm really concerned. And Jenny, you are not, Lisa, your kids are big, but you have a grandkid on the way. Yay. Yeah. But Jenny, you and I, we still have kids in school. We're gonna be there, and you and I have little guys the same age. So we're really gonna feel it. You know what I mean? Because you have Liam and I have Blake. So it's like
there's a piece of me that just can't wait for my kids to get it. Even though we're so blessed. I don't have anything really bad to say about my school district. We're really,
but your taxes was what she's talking about. I just
really can't wait for us to get out of the system. I feel like even though we put our kids in school and we have a really good thing, I look at it and I say, okay, yeah, we've learned the basics, but on top of that, like some of this crap that my kids are coming home with in regards to social issues and other things, and I just
so imagine that. So it's not just the school district, because I'm not complaining about the school
district. It's like teach my kids, but when it comes to moral issues, leave us alone. Leave us alone.
Get it. And then imagine, now you have that now. Okay. Now
I can't even imagine. I can't. And Blake, we're still in elementary school with the youngest.
That's what I'm saying. So that's my point. By the time they get there, we may have excellent teachers and we may have excellent staff, but it's only but so much they could do. I mean, so it's like, all right, we're still paying we're still paying school tax, but we're not getting anything, extra.
What's like my husband and I were talking about, like, this directly relates to like this whole conversation, believe it or not, is probably why state rights were formed to begin with, because we don't all believe in the same things. We don't all support the same way of thinking. So we should all have the ability to choose. That's why I think school choice always comes into play and everything else. We should have the ability to choose what state that we want to live in that matches our value system and what we're willing to fund, because it causes us less anxiety. And so I was saying to my husband tonight, there are bigots in the world and they have the right to have their own state. And if they all vote a certain percentage for that state for what they want to vote for, then they should have the right to run theirs. That's why we are the United States. Everybody has the right to believe differently. You have the right to have your lifestyle. I have the right to have my lifestyle. You want me to accept yours, that's fine. But I shouldn't have to fund it or anything else. So that's why it comes down to state rights. That's why I get so angry when people come in and they're like, oh, well, you should, this in New York, you should, listen, if you're living in a different state like North Carolina or whatever, don't tell me how to run my state if you don't have a dog in the fight. And it's very similar with why we have little towns, why we have little school districts. We have people like we're so lucky compared to the city. We can go to a monthly school board meeting and talk to the people who vote for the policy within our school and tell them how we feel. So we are blessed. We may be outvoted. We may not always be heard. But we're lucky that we have the platform that we can do that locally. And that's important. That's why I'm huge on state rights, because of that. Exactly what we were just talking about, Dana. Like, why should you have to pay school taxes when you pay for this, or that? So if you live in an area that gives you that choice,
right?
I agree. And that's why you should be able to choose to live in an area that fits your value system. Don't judge other people for not having it. Choose where you want to be and be a part of that community and make it great. And if it is great, people will flock to you. And if it's not, they won't. And it'll be dictated by your population, that you get. And like New York, New York, do you know that we lost 2 electoral votes over the last presidential election because we lost so many people in regards to population?
Wow.
So if your policies are working, it's reflected in the people who choose to be in your state, and it's reflected in how many electoral votes you get to vote for your leadership in your state. And people don't realize that. And that's no different than what we have locally. It's just mimicked all the way down, all the way up, in different ways. Sorry, off my soapbox.
No, it's very interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
I always learn something new when we do this.
We may know things because we talk amongst each other, but people don't really understand really what's going on. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of older people are always against paying school tax. They don't have kids in school anymore. Their kids are grown, so they don't want to pay.
Some of them are okay with it too.
Yeah, some of them are okay, but I've found a large number of them. And let's be honest, I mean, if they've been paying all this time, I mean, well,
that was a big deal over in Elwood, why they didn't want the 55 and older community, because it was going to create a voting block of people who would not have kids because they're out of the childbearing years, that would no longer want to vote for their school budgets and would vote them down. And that was one of the biggest concerns that came out of that.
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. If you don't have, if you move into a retirement community because you don't have any, you lived your life basically. Now you want to retire. So I don't want to be paying an additional, school tax. Why should I? I don't have anybody in school.
Speaking about taxes, and being taxed to death.
No.
Should I not mention it?
God, this was such a bad, this thread was 186 comments.
Oh, more than 175.
Over the tax on the plastic bag. And Dana, I'm not even going to tell you to go look at it. It was so bad. This man became so vulgar with me. I don't even understand people on the internet. I really don't. At the end, he was calling, he said, oh, you're going to call me a racist next. And I'm like, why? Because plastic bags are white. Can we please stop?
C-U-N-T, and he said he had a big eggplant.
Oh, so bad. He was a white guy. Just so you know, he was a white fisherman guy from North Carolina. That's why I brought up North Carolina. He told me if I didn't like New York, I should move. And I'm like, who are you carpetbagger? So anyways, the discussion, it got so out of control. It was just so, the guy ended up blocking me, my husband, my unborn grandchildren. He blocked everybody I have ever met in my life and the people I have yet to meet. But
the point is being taxed again.
But the point was, and we kept trying to bring this whole conversation back to it, is because he kept saying, oh, I own property. It has nothing to do with property taxes. Every time you go to the grocery store, you will now be charged a tax to use a plastic bag.
Anywhere, the grocery store, if you go to Target, if you go to the pharmacy, if you go to the drugstore, go to CVS.
But do you know that's already implemented in Rhode Island?
Yeah, in a couple of different states. Yeah, California.
I was bugged out. I was bugged out when they did that. I was like,
I heard of it, but now that it's here at home,
so ridiculous.
Tax to death.
That's so ridiculous. So it was bad. Okay, I was already upset when they started taxing me on the freaking water bottles. I mean, if your water wasn't so dirty, I wouldn't need water bottles. That's another story.
Get a filter. Get a filter.
Yeah, and I don't have money for a high-powered filter. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I got over that. Now you're telling me that I'm gonna have to pay 5 cents for the bags, which I recycle because I use for everything possible.
It's a paper bag and a plastic bag, both, not just plastic.
Mine don't end up in the ocean with a pile of dog poop in them. They're heavy. They're in my garbage can. Boom.
I'm just gonna carry my groceries out my hand. That's it.
Yeah, me too.
I have 3 kids at home.
I'm just gonna put them back in the cart, like I do at Costco. Why can't I do that?
Yeah, because I'm not paying extra. That makes no sense to me.
And then you know what? You know how many people are gonna get stopped for stealing now, for shoving their shit in their bag?
Exactly. No, it's true because I'm not. And I'm a big.
Not that I'm not going to pay for it, but now I look like more of a suspect when I have that T-bone and I'm putting it in place because I don't want to pay 5 cents for my bag.
But seriously, where is that fee going to? Who's getting that tax?
Yeah, why am
Where is it going, and why do I have to pay for it? Why?
Because
Where's
it's
the money going?
going to dolphins, Lisa.
Oh yeah, and I'm all about saving the dolphins and the sea turtle. Lord knows.
Well, oysters, the
See
water.
my earrings, my little sea turtles. Love sea turtles. But the point is, oh, and I didn't wear them for the show, Dana. I love these. My favorite earrings. But seriously, where is that fee going to? If it was really going to help and save, our sea life in some way, shape, or form, I would love it. But it's just going to line someone's pocket.
Look what happened with the whale beach. Did you remember the whale that got beached up?
Yeah, they killed it.
It's the whale. One whale. And the minute government got involved, they killed that whale. They killed that whale. They killed that whale by trying to help that whale. If they would have left the people who showed up to begin with, they would have saved that whale. But the minute government's like, oh, back off, you can't come here, and everybody who's here at the scene now has to be charged prevailing wage and sign up, and we have to make sure everybody has their benefits and they're cleared, and you'll need OSHA training and sea life training, and then you can go help that. By the time they figured out what they were doing, the whale was dead. But now you want to charge me 5 cents a bag to save the environment? You couldn't even save a whale.
Exactly.
It's not like it was hard to miss. It's a whale.
Well, they have to, legislature wants to pay $1.7 million for landscaping and lights. So
that's where your money's going.
Maybe that's where the money's going.
Your money's going. I bet you if you do a cross-reference check, you're going to find some political donations from some of these people.
Some funny person on a town page said that the money's going to the store owner.
Which store? They can't, and that's another thing that's so infuriating. I think we should get more into the development next time. These storefronts are empty. They can't get anybody to put their product or their name. And it's not just that we can't attract businesses here. The world is changing. Jeff Bezos from Amazon.com is literally putting out every ma and pa store there ever was. So this whole Amazon.com, I use an app to buy all my stuff. We're destroying our small business retail.
Yeah. Even pet food. Even pet food.
Destroyed. And one of the biggest people is the #1 millionaire in the world, which is Jeff Bezos. He's the owner of the Washington Post as well as Amazon.com. He does not operate out of the United States. He operates and he takes all his tax breaks. He doesn't pay his fair share, and he's killing our retail businesses. So when we're building these mixed use things with all these apartments and they want to put commercial stuff here, there's nothing to put here except CVS, 7-Eleven, the big box stores. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that can afford to go there.
Right. And they're not even turning a profit. It's just to have their name there. They're turning profit elsewhere.
Who can afford to go there? Look at where that place is that they just built on New York Avenue near, what is that, Maria's Chicken and Ribs?
Yeah, right next to it.
I remember that place for years being like a lot of nothing. And then they put all these apartments in the storefront. I don't give a shit. I don't care what you're putting in there. I'm not shopping there.
Dana, where are you going to park without getting killed crossing the street? But beyond that, it's 66 units per acre, Dana. 66.
I saw that. So
there are shoe boxes.
How that's tonight. My mother's like, oh, I'm sure the young kids. I'm like, Mom, I'm telling you right now.
That's affordable, though. It's affordable.
They're $2,700 a month.
That's affordable.
Oh, yeah? And on top of your health insurance, how much you got left at the end of the day? Let's be realistic.
No, you can't be realistic.
That's why you're working on the corner at night to make ends meet.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do, honestly. Because you're not going to be able to, you're either going to have to pay your rent or you're going to have to eat. I don't know which one you're going to choose which month, but that's going to be the toss up.
And then how long before those apartments are empty and that building is just a whole big empty eyesore?
Because, I mean, think about it. If you can't fill it up, there were undesirables there before. They didn't move them anywhere. They just kind of scattered. So if it's nobody in there, who do you think is going to go back in there?
Well, that's why you see nothing but restaurants. You don't see any of the really cute retail stores, the sweet things that we used to see. I saw a really fun one at the mall tonight. It was like a dollar store, but it was German. Yeah, we got to wrap this up. I just realized.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, I know we have so much fun, and then we get lost. But
I see the time.
Yeah, we went over.
We have to make up for lost time. Sorry, guys.
I know we haven't been here. We had tragedy and then a sickness and all sorts of stuff. So we don't feel like we have to go completely into it. But we are all working moms. Try to bring you an hour a week. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we have to help each other or whatever we have to do to be here for the next week for you. Do you ladies have any local businesses you wanted to promote?
I gotta save it for next week.
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't been anywhere this week. I worked every day this week. I haven't been anywhere.
Okay, I'll do. This week I decided to spoil myself. It was really cold and miserable out, and I wanted seafood. So I stopped in for some seafood Fra Diablo at Mill Pond, which is right next to Jellyfish and the Thatch Cottage that we were talking about earlier. No, but serious, this place, they're a little bit on the 4 to 5 star pricing area, but man, stop in for lunch and the Fra Diablo really warms you from the inside. So I did. I treated myself very well this week. I felt like I deserved it.
You did.
Went shopping in the mall. Just telling you about this one. You guys need some stocking stuffers. Holy smokies, this place is great. It's in the mall. They have all this stuff, but it's like $1, $3, $4, little cute, neat little things. Seasonal.
Are they new? I've never heard of them before.
They just
opened
opened
the mall in a while.
3 weeks now. 3 weeks.
Geez.
I'm talking stocking stuffers for days.
Oh, cool.
Flying Tigers at the Walt Whitman Mall. They were really great. I take all my kids shopping individually and take them out for a little meal to have one-on-one time with them around the holidays so we can make our lists and shop. And we discovered that tonight, and I figured I'd bring it to you guys because it's stocking stuffer time.
Yeah, I haven't been anywhere. That's good. I'm gonna try to go.
Yeah, and they were so reasonable. Like Lily spent, my 12-year-old, she's like, I only spent $6. I got like 5 things. Don't tell anybody what you spent, ever. Those are the best gifts. So I think we should really, we'll come back next week. I think we didn't cover even half of what we really wanted to. There's so much, but I'm sure we're going to say this and then something's going to happen and we're going to be like, oh, well, we're going to start over now because somebody tweeted something and there goes what we decided we were going to do today. We have a whole new week. Like even that stuff with Bobby Strikeoff, it started December 6th. That was 6 days ago. It feels like a month ago. It feels like forever ago. Tomorrow night is the town board meeting, 7 p.m. It's the last town board meeting for Susan Berland, Tracy Edwards, and Frank Petrone. So I know people may want to go down and wish them well or not, or, wish some well and some not, or wish them all well or none, but that's
Can we get on a list to speak? Is it too late? And ask about the investigation for
save that for January. So wait till all the new people are sworn in, and then what I really think we need to do is just go ahead and get the information foiled first. Take it from there.
Okay.
Then you could say you guys didn't follow up, or you guys did follow up. What's the resolution? I always like to have the facts before I go out and make any type of random accusations now.
Good idea. Yeah, the foil, I forgot.
Rely on us for information, and I want to make sure our information is solid because we've been really good up until now. We haven't had many retractions or anything, so.
I agree. We should keep that momentum up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All
right, ladies. Well, as always, I loved chatting with you guys.
Tree looks great.
Yours too, Lisa.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
All right. Well, so I hope everyone enjoyed tonight's Huntington View, and we'll see you next week. Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye, guys.